Awesome, Natalie. So we are live now. I'm gonna make you host, then you have to make me co-host again.
Okay, no problem. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, Marianne. Welcome, Jody. Marianne, you're muted if you're still trying to speak to me. Jody,
Hi.
Karen. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Lovely. All right, Linda. Welcome, Norma. Welcome, whoever has come in on an Apple iPad. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Let's wait for people to come in while people are coming on in. Is there anything you'd care to share with me today, like where you're from or what the weather's like where you are, or reasons that you've chosen this class today? Feel like making a comment?
I just don't really know what the class is about, really. So that's why spine got me.
Sure, Marianne. I think most people don't know what the class is about.
Oh, good. I'm not alone.
Yeah, the basic premise is we're just going to be moving our spine, seeing how we can move our spine all the ways. So simple moves, they're simple, they might not be easy, but they're relatively simple to be moving around. But our aim is to see how we're feeling in our bodies and how we can move them, and maybe experience different ways and find different ways to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving it a chance, even though you have no idea what you've come in here to do.
I know.
All right, welcome Vicky and welcome Paula, Denise, Katie, welcome back. All right, so there's some names and that come up.
Excuse me, can you tell us a little something about yourself?
I will, absolutely, Karen. I'm just waiting for a couple more people to come in and I will get started. Yeah, so it takes a little while. So I will be with that very, very shortly. All right, why don't I put my main screen? What I'll do is I'll share my screen first, just so everybody knows that they are in the right place, that this is the class that they have chosen. So here we are. I will get started. So this class, welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you still coming in, and welcome if you've already been here. This class is called Your Supple Spine. It is a movement class, and the aim is to be sharing with you simple moves as to how we can move our spine all the ways, right? A healthy spine is able to move multi-directionally, right? All the ways, and we're able to have quite a big movement. But that doesn't mean that we're going to actually be there right now, but the more we try and move our spine, we try to move it in different ways, the more we'll be able to do so. Now, the caveat there is something might not feel okay for you. If it doesn't feel okay, don't move it. Stop and rest and maybe try it a different way. I'll hopefully be giving you multiple options of ways to move your spine. Now, a little bit about me. my name is Natalie, and we always put me down as Natalie W because there are two Natalies here in Australia. I think we're microphone over. So I am in Melbourne, Australia, which is way down south, and it's getting a bit cool, but it looks like the sun is shining today. It is 8 o'clock in the morning here, just for a little bit of reference from where you are. I have been teaching some form of movement since 2001. I've been a bit of a mover all of my life, not necessarily any structured exercise, but from 2001, I started a journey through yoga teaching. And that moves on to Pilates and personal training. And I'm a why person. I need to know how the body works and why do we do this and why do we do that? And basically all the whys, all the questions. So I've done multiple workshops over the years, and I am here to share what I've learned with you. So my main goal is to help people to live and move independently throughout their lives, and I try not to take myself too seriously while I am doing it. So it's always a journey of discovery. We're always learning, not just you from me, but me from you and from each other, which is what GetSetUp is all about. Right? So ideally, as we're moving through the practice today or through the class, you have your camera on so we can see you and you can see each other. If you're not comfortable having your camera on, that's also fine. Absolutely stay with us without that on. But it's nice if you feel okay with having your camera on. If you enjoy the class that we do today, you're more than welcome to request a recording. And to do that, all you need to do is email help@getsetup.io. So if you are joining us, we are live streaming. We are on GetSetUp TV this morning. So if you are live streaming, you might want to consider next time to registering for the class, because that way you can ask questions, you can type them in the chat box, you could unmute yourself and ask a question. If you have any questions, you can participate a little bit more fully if you do register. But live streaming is also a great option. Finally, GetSetUp. I'm not paid to promote any products, so I will not be selling anything to you during the course of this class. And last but not least, if you are new to any movement practices, it would be advisable to check with your doctor. I am a movement professional. I am not here to give you any medical advice. So if something that I'm suggesting to you to do is contrary to what a medical professional has suggested to you or told you about your own body, take their advice over mine. Right? I'm giving suggestions, but again, you are the expert in your own body. You know what it feels like to be in your skin. So please listen to your body and move accordingly. I am going to stop that sharing. Alrighty. For this class, I'm not going to be using any special props. We may, if we have time at the end, do a simple stretch, and we call it a calf stretch. And all we need is something like a towel, or you can roll your mat up and use it as a little bit of a tool to do something like that. Otherwise, a lot of the class will be, blah, 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 I'm getting tongue-tied. We will be starting standing. Most of the class we can do seated in a chair as well. I'm going to give demonstrations, right? Standing. We'll also be coming down onto the floor, onto our backs, onto our hands and knees. So if any of that is not okay for you, you can be seated in a chair. I'll be showing some options there, or you can remain standing. All right, so even if you can't stand, you can start sitting in a chair. Do we have any questions before we begin? Hopefully that's self-explanatory and I haven't talked too much. All right, I'm going to pop myself on a big screen so you can see me a little bit better. There we go. And I will have everybody muted through the class, but feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions throughout the class. We also have a technical assistant who is there to assist you if you have any technical issues. So if you do, please type them in the chat box. All right, and you can also type any questions in the chat box and hopefully he will let me know that that's going on there and I'll be able to answer them for you. Sorry, that was so long-winded. Anyway, let's start standing. And I realize I haven't angled my camera too great. What we want to do is see how we can move our spine all the ways. So from a standing position, or if this is not okay, sit down in your seat. can you maybe just move your pelvis forward? Think about your pubic bone at the front of the pelvis. What would happen if you push your pubic bone forward? Notice how the spine reacts to that. It takes me into a back bend. And then I'm going to pull it back. And I'm just going to allow my body to move into a little bit of a forward bend. So I'm going to just push my hips forward. Notice what happens there. My head will lift up. And then I'll push my hips back. And my head comes down. So have a little play with just pushing your hips forward and then pushing your hips back. Right? Can you maybe let your arms angle? Can you allow your head, your neck to move with that pressing forward and backwards? Right? And how does it feel? And I really want to urge you to, if it doesn't feel good, you can either stop the movement that you're doing and rest, or you can maybe make the movement smaller. If you're doing like a big back bend and that's putting strain in your back, and then a big forward bend and that's doing something else, maybe you just come right on back to a simple, small movement. And see if that's okay. And then if the really small movement's okay, you might be able to make it larger. Alrighty. So that was a little bit of backwards and forwards movement, and we'll all be doing it differently. Come on upright to standing. And then instead of backwards and forwards, we're going to go to the side. So let your ear come towards your shoulder, and then maybe your hand slides down your leg. Go to the side. Come on back up again. And then go the other way. Drop your ear towards your shoulder. Let your head be heavy. Let your arms angle down. And come on back up. Let's do a few of these, right? Go to one side. And again, the same thing applies. If the movement is too large and it doesn't feel okay, make it smaller. Over the other way. And I'm just letting my hips move a little bit more. As we repeat a movement, the body might be able to work out how to make it larger, how to move a little bit more, maybe in different ways. Okay, I'm just going to do that one more time each way. And then I'll come on back up to standing. I'm just turning sideways again so you can see. I'm going to do more of the bend forward. Now we call this a roll down. If you're upright with your body, drop your chin towards your chest now. So we're leading with the head this time. Let your arms dangle. And then maybe you can keep rolling forward. You might want to put a bend in your knees and let the crown of your head lead the way down towards the floor. See if you can let your arms angle in space. That can be challenging. A lot of people slide them down their legs. And then come to a point where it feels okay for you. Now, it might be a tiny little bend. It might be that you can come on all the way down and your hands touch the floor. Okay? And then reverse that. Round and roll back on up to standing. Right now, we're getting a little sense of how that feels in the spine. Let's do that again. Nod your head. See if you can let your arms angle. And you're going to find your own range. Come on down. Wherever you can. And then round and roll back up again. We'll do that again. And we'll notice what's going on. Nod your head. Now, if you are coming all the way down, so your hands touch the floor, and that may not be the case, but if you are, notice if one hand touches the floor before the other. And then roll back up. If your hands are not touching the floor, notice if one feels like it's going lower than the other. Try that again. Roll down. And roll back up again. And we'll just do that one more time. Let's see if maybe we can remember how you're feeling when we do this. And then after we do some more moves, at the end of the class, we'll try it again and see if it feels different, if it feels easier, or maybe it feels harder. Right. And then come on back up again. All right. So I'll give the whole of the spine a little bit of a rest, and we'll just come right up to the top of the spine, which is the head and the neck. Take your head to one side again. Drop your ear towards your shoulder. And then let your head drop down forward. So you're going to do a circle with your head, chin towards your chest, your other ear towards your shoulder, and then lift your head up and maybe look towards the ceiling. Now, keep going. We're doing a slow, what we call a neck roll in one direction. Now, if that is not okay, make it smaller. Think like you've got a little coin in front of your nose and you're doing a tiny circle around that coin with your nose, the tip of your nose. Right, there we go. Taking it slowly, right, noticing, are there any kinks? Are there any like little click noises happening as you do that? Can you let your shoulders relax? I'm going to go the other way. And then at the end of this next circle, my chin comes back towards my chest. I'm going to lift my head back up again. And then from there, I'm going to go back to that sideways bend. Drop your chin, your ear towards your shoulder again. I'm bending my knees. I'm going to see if I can go a little bit more to the side. I'm going to go a little bit further to the side. I'm going to just see what happens with my body as I'm taking it to one side. And I'm going to come on back up. So my body needs to twist a little bit now. I'm going to go the other way. I'm bending over the side. Right? My other shoulder's coming forward. There'll be a little bit of a twist to go further. And come on back up again. Over the first side. So these are exploratory movements. How does it feel to be moving your spine in different ways? Right? Does it want to move in different ways, or do you feel stuck, a little bit sticky? Every time we go to one side, it's going to be slightly different. It's never going to be exactly the same both ways. Right, the last side. Back up again. Pause. And now if you take your feet a little bit wider, let your arms dangle. Can you start to turn your upper body? We're going to twist a little bit and then rotate from side to side. Now notice I'm coming up onto my toes on the ball of my foot as I turn. So my feet are not stuck. I'm just letting everything in my body turn from side to side. You might want to look straight forward because you can get a little bit dizzy doing this. Right? My arms are just going to swing around. They're going to make contact with my body as we go. Hopefully you don't have any furniture in the way. A couple more of these each way. Twist. And then release. Okay. Now we're going to come sitting down. If you're okay sitting on the mat, come sitting all the way down on the mat. If you're not okay, come and sit down on a seat. I'm just going to angle my camera a little bit better so you can see me when I'm sitting down. So I'll be right back in front of it in a moment. All right. There we go. So come on, sitting, like I said, down on your mat or on a seat. So it doesn't matter how you are sitting as long as we're sitting down some way. If it's not okay to be sitting on a mat, prop yourself up. If you can get down, prop yourself up on something. It can be a towel, it can be a few pillows, a bolster, something that you have there. Let's use that. All right. So we're going to start accentuating that side bend again. So if you're seated, just hold on to the seat. We're going to reach one arm up, and I'm going to let the arm reach right on up. Let your shoulder blade lift up. Have the other hand, hand down by your side, and take a bend over to the side. So we're going to really reach and stretch on out through that arm, and then we're going to come on back up again, and we'll bend again. So reach up through your arm and shoulder, and then bend. Now, if your arm doesn't want to reach up overhead, that's okay. If your shoulder doesn't allow you, maybe you're reaching more forward. So find the move there that feels okay for your arm and shoulder. Now, when we bend, can you maybe turn your body a little bit, add a little bit of that twist in and reach somewhere else rather than going the same way every time you do it? I'm going to add a bit of rotation into the spine. I'm going to reach in different directions. Right, so I'm going to reach. My body's going to turn a little bit differently. Come on back. Maybe I turn behind myself. Reach behind me. I might want to try and grab my seat here. It's too far away. Come on back. So you're experimenting in reaching all the different ways. I'll do a couple more on this side. Over. Just to be clear, if you are seated, right, it can be absolutely done in a seat. Everything can be done from a higher seated position at this stage. That was more than two. Okay, come on back. Compare the sides of your body, and then let's do exactly the same thing, or not exactly the same, it will be different on the other side. So hand down, reach your other arm on up, and then bend. Over the side, your other arm can support you a bit. Come on back. Again. Bend. So you're finding different angles to take your body into your arm. Again, if it's not okay for your shoulder, just keep your arm down lower. Maybe you even can turn and reach and bend without using your arm at all. Right. I had a woman come to class yesterday who doesn't have any movement at the moment with one of her arms. So we just keep it down the whole time. But we can move the rest of the body. Ooh. It's morning here, so they feel particularly good for a bit of a creaky body. They might also feel a nice way to sort of stretch out your day if you're doing this, if this is more at the end of your day. I'm going to do two more here. Not a lot of reaches, but it's forever. Then come on back and take a moment and just sit upright and see what that feels like there. And then we're going to try and move a little bit more from the center of the body. Now I'm just going to hold onto my knees. What I'm going to try and do is keep my head relatively still, and it's like a hula hoop movement. Can you do a circular motion through your spine here? My head is moving, but I'm not it's not going all the way around with my body. I'm keeping it relatively still and trying to get my waist and my ribs to make this circular motion. And as you're doing this, notice how you're breathing. Can you just breathe naturally? Oh, I just can see a message now. Sorry, I missed that before. It says how much bend in the knees. That would have referred to earlier when we were standing. As much bend as feels okay for you. You can have a little bend, you can have a big bend. Go the other way. So apologies for not seeing that message earlier. I think I would need super duper glasses from where I am. All right, have we gone the other way? I'm circling around the other way. Let me once again say, if I've done too many repetitions of anything, if you're going, oh, that's not so good, just stop and rest until we go and do the next one. All right, two more. And then once again, sit on up nice and tall. Okay, now from here, I'm just going to change my legs around because I like to change my legs around a lot. You can be sitting like this or however it is that you're sitting. Do the best you can to come and sit right up on top of what we call our sitting bones, the bones at the bottom of your pelvis. It might be a bit better to sit up higher on something. It's absolutely be done in your seat as well. What we're going to try and do is remain upright through the body and see if we can lean forward. See how I'm trying to keep my spine relatively straight. I'm trying to roll forward off my sitting bones here with a flat back, flat-ish. And you might be like way back here somewhere and unable to move more than that, in which case you can use your arms to help you try and come into an upright or a straighter back position here. I'm going to come on forward that way and see what that's like. And then I'm going to come on back up again. And instead of finding that flat back, I'm going to nod my head now. And then I'm going to round myself into a forward bend. And then come on back up again. And then see if I can once again hinge forward, roll forward off my sitting bones. Like I said, this may not be possible at all, but you're just doing the best you can. And then back up again, and then round forward. And then come on up one more time. And this might not make that much sense or find that movement. This is something that I've had to work with for a long time, but we're just having a little play and seeing if you do get a sense of being able to do it both ways, round and forward and backwards. And then let's see if we can get ourselves into a position where your feet are standing on your mat. Now, if you chose to sit up on something, you may need to get yourself down flat onto the mat instead, unless it's something quite large and there's a larger surface area. Right, because what we're going to do is we're going to sort of roll backwards and forwards. And I don't want you falling off if you're sitting on a block or a book or something to help you there. But pop your feet on the mat, hold on to your knees, lift yourself up nice and tall. So again, we're trying to be on those sitting bones. And then from there, we're going to now round backwards off the sitting bones onto the fleshy part of your bottom. So I'm creating a C shape in my spine. I'm going to pull with my arms, right? Pull forward, and I'm going to try and rock forward and do like a bit of a back bend. That's I'm going to round on back, rolling backwards off my sitting bones. I'm going to pull myself here forward and try to roll forward. Keep that going. I just want to show that on the seat. Right. We're just going to roll backwards and come on up and go forward. Backwards. Now, if you do yoga or Pilates, you may know this type of movement as a cat and cow movement through your spine that we're doing seated. We'll be doing this in a moment on all fours. Back and rounding forward. All right, so a few more of those. We're finding the movement in the spine. So we've gone sideways, we've gone circular. This is now more of a backwards and forwards movement. And then what we want to do now is take this all the way down. So we're lying down on our backs. So you can support yourself as best you can. You can let your legs go. But we're going to come on all the way down to lying down on your back. Okay. Once you're down on your back, and if you're on your chair, I'll come back here. It's pretty much what we were just doing. I'll come back and show that. But if you're able to get down onto your back, have your feet down on the mat. Your knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. Your arms come down by your side. You now want to let the pelvis tilt backwards again, but now you can press down through your feet and lift your hips up off the mat. And now we're coming up in a rolling action. We call this a pelvic curl, where the pelvis lifts up and the rest of the spine will follow. And then you want to roll back down again, getting your ribs onto the mat, then your mid back and your lower back, and finally your tail, your bottom comes down onto the mat at the end. Let's do that again. You're pushing down into your feet, your pelvis tilts backwards, your pubic bone comes towards your belly button, and then you're going to lift up, rolling up your bottom, your lower back, your mid back, your ribs come on up, and then you're going to roll back down again as best you can. Now again, it might just be the tiniest little lift of your bottom up off the mat. You might be able to lift everything up. If you're on your seat, if you're seated, it's going to be pretty much similar to what we were already doing. Right? Just curl your tail and roll on back again. So you're still getting that movement in your spine. It's just the other way. It's backwards rather than forwards. Right? So then try and roll back up again, all the way up to sitting. Right? So our intention here is to move the spine. Right? You could also come on forward a little bit more and maybe look more up to the ceiling if you want to go the other way. So just playing with the movement of the spine. Let's do that one more time. And then come on back down. And then once you're back down, take your feet a bit wider on the mat And do a windscreen wiper action with your knees. Your knees roll from one side and then the other side. If you've done any classes with me, you probably would have done this one in the hip class. I think we even did it yesterday in the core and stretch class. Some of my favorite moves come out all the time. And the reason that I do so many of them is because it's about getting the body moving in different ways. I'm going to do 2 more of these in each direction. So what's happening now is your pelvis is rotating from side to side. Sometimes if we just take the focus differently, even though we're doing the same exercise, we're bringing our awareness to that movement in a different way. All right, now from here, we're going to roll our knees over to one side. We're going to end up sideways on the side of our bodies with our arms, one on top of each other, reaching out in front of us. Now, I'll show you a chair version in a moment for if you see that. You might be able to work that out, but anyway, I will come up there. Now here's the thing with your head. It would be really nice to pop something underneath your head, especially if your head's just sort of hanging in space. You want it to be supported. So if you have your towel or your pillow or something, if it's not comfortable, put something underneath your head here to give it a little bit of support. So it's not just stuck hanging in space. And you're reaching your arms out in front of you and your knees are also bent. Okay. From here, we're going to slide the top hand forward and I'm going to allow my upper body to turn down towards the floor. And then I'm going to lift my arm up towards the ceiling. I'm going to reach it on up. I'm going to keep taking my arm back behind me. So now my upper body is going to turn up towards the ceiling. All right, so it's a little bit like a book opening. And then I'm going to bring my arm back on up to the ceiling and then over towards the hand that's on the mat or the arm that's on the floor. And then I'll slide it forward a little bit and I'll lift it up towards the ceiling, reach back behind me and I'll let my body twist. So it's an upper body twist and it's going to come on back, up and over onto the weighted hand. Now try that a few more times. If you're seated, you don't have the benefit of sideways on the mat, but we can still do a movement here. You can either reach both arms out or just maybe reach one arm out in front of you and you can sort of slide forward and you take your arm out to the side. One arm keeps reaching forward and the other arm starts to reach back behind you. I'm a bit limited here. I'm going to keep turning. So you're adding a twist into your body and then you're going to come on back. But if it's too much to hold your arm up, the other arm can be down. Maybe really squeeze your legs together to help fix your lower body a little bit more to turn your upper body. You can reach back behind you and then come on back, right? So we're getting this rotation happening through your rib cage. Playing around with how that would work best for you, right? So both arms in front. Let's do maybe 1 or 2 more of these. And it depends. You could really, if this feels really nice, to open up, reach your arm behind you and hold it there for a moment or so. Do that. If it feels better to move it, do that. Yeah. I'll do 1 more. Reaching up and back. And then we'll switch around. Now I'll just turn my back to the camera just in case it wasn't clear where my arm was going. So I'm turning to the other side. Again, hands together, slide it forward. It's going to lift on up towards the ceiling and it's going to come back behind me. Now, I have quite a lot of movement, so my arm can comfortably touch the floor. Yours might not go anywhere near the floor behind you. It might be up here somewhere. That's perfect. Right, we're all perfect with where we are right now. We're just looking for the movement that works for you in the moment. You could move your legs. You can have them in a different position. If you're seated on your chair, change your arms, change the direction that you're going. Or if you're seated, you might want to do 1 twist one way and the other, and then 1 twist the other way. You have a few more options if you're upright. You don't have to keep turning, rolling over from one side to the other. So you can do there what feels good for you. How about we do 2 more of these? And again, right, the option would be just to reach back and hold that position. That might be nice to ask yourself as well. Because I've done so many repetitions of this, did my reach get further? Was I able to rotate my upper body? Was I able to get maybe my shoulders closer towards the floor after I've done this a number of times? All right. Once you feel relatively even on both sides, we're going to keep rolling over onto our bellies, onto tummy. And then from there, it's going to be more of a back bend with the upper body to start off with. Now, I like to have my elbows out to the side. I have a mat here, but my hands are right off the mat. And I'll just show you, my arms are like this. They're like cactus arms, but they're on the floor. It gives me a little bit more space to work with, right, with my arms and with my shoulders. If this is not okay for you, you can always have your arms by your side or wherever it's okay for your arms. But look down, take a look down towards the mat, press your pubic bone down to the mat. Now start to lift on up, and you can push your arms down a little bit or a lot, and we're lifting up into a back bend. Now, again, I've got, can lift up quite high. That might not be the case for you. And then come on back down. It might be the tiniest little bend. It can be somewhere in between, right? You might be like, hands back here and do a huge bend, right? Wherever it's right. So one up, you might choose to look forward and then back down again. Try a couple of those. If you're on your seat, it's going to be starting from an upright position. You can have your hands here or maybe behind your head, which will give you a little bit more feedback. And you're going to push your head back into your hands and start to look on up to the ceiling and bend backwards in this position. And then rise on back up. Right? Paying attention to how that feels in your spine, right? In your neck, what's that feel like? Right? So we're going into a back bend from here. And then up again. And then finally, if you're on your belly, and I don't do loads of these, what would it feel like if you lifted a leg as you come on up and lower down? Try your other leg, lift on up. Right, there's more of a bend in your back there, and lower down. Maybe both of them together, maybe one was enough. And then lower back down. Right, I can feel that in my glutes. Okay. Can you push yourself back into a child's pose? Now that might not be okay for your knees. It might be better up here, wherever it's okay for you. But that may be a really nice stretch for your back, right? Some people love this, other people this is like an awesome pose to be in. So find what's okay for you. And then we're going to come on up onto our hands and knees. And this is where we're going to go for more what we call a traditional cat-cow that we do in yoga. Now, if this is not okay for your knees, right, you can put some padding underneath them. Also, a lot of us have issues with our wrists. We can't put our body weight onto our wrists. So an option would be to come down onto your forearms instead. Or, same again, you could be holding onto something like a towel, which may take a little bit of pressure off your wrists. Right, okay, if you're seated, we've done this seated already, we're just going to repeat it. So your hands are under your shoulders or thereabouts, your knees underneath your hips, and now we're going to round our back up towards the ceiling. You might be able to look at your belly, and then let your belly sink down, lift your tail up, look forward. Right, so we're rounding up, and this is called cat pose, right? It's like a cat arching its back, and then rounding down. Cow pose, supposedly looking like a cow. So it's an up and back, up and down movement through your spine. We're moving now a bit more from the center of the spine. Right, so again, like I said, we've done this in the seat already. This is a nice repeat in this position, rounding backwards and rounding forward. So you'll be the experts at this one. And the spine moves this way. Let's do 2 more of these. And then into a tabletop position, so you're not rounded up or down. And now we're going to do one called Happy Dog, right? So it's now a sideways bend. If you look over one shoulder, I'm looking over my right shoulder, and I'm going to push my right hip towards my right shoulder. So I'm sideways bending, and then I'm going to go the other way. Look over my left shoulder, push my left hip towards my left shoulder. So think waggle your tail from side to side and look towards your tail as you do that. Right, side to side. Now, if you're seated, it's a sideways bend. So it's like look down one way, bend the other way. I didn't bend very well. I twisted. Right, so you can bend to one side and bend to the other side. Your arms can be sideways. You can even reach on up with your arms if you wanted to add your arm into it, but it's a sideways bend. There's our happy dog. Let's take a little bit of weight off your wrist for a moment. You can sit down, you can come on up here into this kind of position. Get your hands together, do like a little circular figure 8 kind of movement. Just to take some pressure out of the wrists. Can you go the other way? I can go one way, can't go the other way. Give them a little bit of a shake around. Nice. Now, I'm going to try and put those 2 movements together. And people get really confused with this one. I shouldn't really say that because that will preempt something. But what I want to say is, as long as you move, it doesn't matter how you do it, right? So I'm going to do a happy dog. So I'm going to look over my right shoulder and push my right hip to my right shoulder. Then I'm going to round up into cat pose. I'm going to now bend to the left, looking over my left shoulder, and then down to cow pose. To the right, round up, to the left, round the belly down. Again, it doesn't matter how you do this movement. Let's just see if we can rotate. It's kind of hula-ing. A person who hula hoops would probably laugh at that. So that's not at all like that. But because I can't hula hoop, I'm imagining, all right, can you change directions if you got one way? Can you go to the right and then down to cow, to the left and up to cat? So in a way, this is a little bit of brain training too, because we're trying to get our spine to do movements all the ways that we wouldn't do in our daily lives. But the purpose is to allow you to do more and get better reach and be able to move a little bit easier throughout your daily life. All right, have we done a load of those? Let's come on up once again. Have a rest for your wrists, give them a little bit of a shake. I like to do a wrist stretch regularly. It's with an elbow bend. Turn your palm up and try and point your fingers down to the floor. Get your other hand on your fingers and pull the fingers back, push your palm forward. And so your elbow is bent in by your side. Just like this. I'm also sitting on my feet. This is really uncomfortable for a lot of people. I think it might be here, but if you want an extra foot stretch, sit on your feet. Let's change in position. The palm is pressing forward while you're pulling back on your fingers. All right, now we're going to isolate cat and cow a little bit more. So we're going to come on back into this child's pose position. So as best you can with your bottom down towards your feet and your arms outstretched overhead. If that's not okay, they might be more by the side. So we want to try and fix our bottom in place, our pelvis, and move the upper spine. So you're just going to nod your head, round your upper back, nod down, and then lift your head on up, and there's a little bit of a back bend. And it might not be much movement, right? round up. You might not see very much in my body. I haven't got huge movement here. Let's start up. So my intention here is to get my upper back, my sort of rib cage, neck, shoulders area, to do this cat and cow type of action. Now, it's going to be a little bit more challenging if you're seated. You want to do the best you can to fix your pelvis in place and just round forward a little bit more with your upper back. And actually not too bad with the upper body. Try not to let your pelvis move. It's this isolating the upper part of the spine. Sorry about the hair, I should have tied it back. Maybe 2 more here. Okay. And then finally, we're going to do the pelvis again. So come on down onto your forearms if you're here on the mat. Your fingers are going to do this, intertwine them and turn the palms up towards the ceiling. And let your head, the crown of your head, come resting in your hands. Now, press down through your arms. You're going to try and keep your upper body still. And now we want to just move the pelvis. Same cat and cow. So can you lift up and down? Right? Lift up and down. So tilt under. This is tilting backwards. This is tilting forward. You're just going to try and do what you can. Right? So we've done all these moves already. We're just doing them in a different orientation. So up. Yeah, let's do 2 more of these. Oh, sorry, I didn't show the seated version, but we've already done it. Right, roll backwards off your sitting bones and roll forward. Trying to keep your upper body still. All right, here we go. So one final one on your hands and knees. It's now going to be another rotation of your body. We're going to take one arm and we're going to try and lift it on up to the ceiling. So your body's going to turn in one direction. And now that arm is going to go underneath your other arm. It's going to thread under the arm. You're just going to reach on out towards your other side. And then once again, lift my arm on up towards the ceiling. I'm going to turn my body one way. I'm going to take it underneath the other arm and my body will twist in the other direction. All right, I'll show you maybe from the front. Lift on up and then it goes underneath with a little bit of a twist that way. You can slide your hand across the floor. You can reach it on out. I'm going to do 2 more in this direction. Lift up and then go under. Last one. So if you're seated, right, the same as before, what we'll do is we'll just do more of a reach and twist across the body. Right, come on back and reach and twist. Okay, switch sides to the other side. Right, so if you're on your hands and knees, other way, lift on up, go under, lift on up. I'm scanning through my brain right now. We're coming towards the end of the class. I'm trying to see if we've sort of skipped any moves, right? We've been trying to find different ways to move our spine, right? Forward bending, back bending, bending from the middle, twisting, side bending. Last one of these coming up now. Right. But the possibilities are endless, right? Any variation, any different angle on anything that we've done already, it's available to you. We're going to end up by standing again. So come on up any way that works for you. If you feel okay about curling your toes under and lifting your knees up off the mat and walking your hands back to your feet or the other way around, do that. And just coming up to standing any way you can, any way you can get there. It's perfect. And what I want to do is revisit the roll downs that we did at the start of the class. So this is where the knee bending question comes in. But I'm just bending my knees a little bit, right? You might want to bend them a lot more. See what it feels like. You can even experiment with how much you bend the knees, right? Maybe a little bit. Maybe you want to do it with your legs straight, right? I find it makes I feel a little bit more supple in my spine with my knees bent a bit, but it's great to try the same thing with your legs straight. Right? So experiment, nod your head, and let's roll back down again. With all that other movement that we've been doing through the spine, is this now easier to do, right? Is there less pressure on your spine? Is there more pressure? Can you get down further? Do you not get down as far? Right, roll back up again. If that feels good, we're going to try that with a little twist. I'll wait for you to get up. So I'm going to turn my body a little bit to one way, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm in a twist, and I'm going to roll down again. Right, check in. Right, does it feel okay? And you ask yourself, is there, in your mind, you go, oh, that's not good for me. Right? What's happening for you as you work at doing a different movement? It took me years and years of studying, and all sorts of people were giving different opinions. No, you shouldn't be rolling down like this. You shouldn't, your spine is really fragile. Our spines are strong, right, and healthy. They can do a lot. Right, let's turn the other way. Nod your head. Well, it might not be strong and healthy, but they're designed to be strong and healthy. Now let's roll them down the other way. But again, you know your body. You know what feels okay for you. Right? Rolling down and then coming back up. Right? So an example of that was when I did this twisted roll down to the left, I got some sensations that weren't necessarily all that great. But I did that with a twist to the right and it felt perfect. I didn't get any, as I say, sensations. One more time down through center after that. So nodding down, roll down. And when I say sensations, I could call them pain, right? It wasn't a bad pain, but I'm okay with that. I know that that's just a temporary thing for me, right? Around and roll back up. Right. I choose to think of my body as a sort of really healthy thing. In fact, I live in a bit of denial sometimes, but yeah. All right. So how did that feel? That's what I was saying. Like, hopefully all the different ways. It's nice to sort of experiment with it. Maybe I have a little twist again like we did earlier. Like, how do you feel now? Is it easier to twist and does it feel freer? Does it feel like not so great? I don't want to leave it there and leave myself open for any questions that you might have. So I'm going to come on back closer to my screen and put myself into view and see if you have any questions about anything that we've done or anything that's come up for you, or maybe just even a comment.
Natalie,
Yes, Kathy.
have you done this before, this spine one, the spine movement?
Sorry, I must have missed the first part of that. Have I done something before the spine movement?
Have you done this spine movement class before here?
Oh, yes, only once, I think. I think this is only my second time I've done this class. Yeah.
I missed it. I just found it and I came in 10 minutes ago, so I didn't get much of it, but I really needed it because I've been working in the yard today.
Okay, well, Kathy, you can request the recording. You managed to get here, so you can request the recording and you can do the whole thing if you like. But I will be doing this class the same time every week now.
Thursday nights? Okay.
Yeah, yes, it is. What is it for me? I don't even know what day it is. It's Friday for me. Yes, your Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Feel free
you.
to help get set up, and I'll send you a copy of it. So thanks. Well, I'm glad you made it anyway. That's the most important.
Thank you.
So thanks. Would anyone else have any other questions?
Great class. It was very, very helpful.
Great. Thank you.
You go at a slow pace. I like the pace. So
I'm sorry, I missed that too. I've got a good microphone, but a bad speaker.
The class is at a good pace, nice and slow.
Good pace, great. Yes, thanks for that. Yeah, I have a tendency to to go really far. I've been working at trying to slow myself down a bit, so I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for letting me know that. That's great.
It
Excellent.
felt like therapy.
Oh, great. Thanks, Denise. Terrific. All right. I'm going to come back to sharing my screen so I can finish with my finishing slides. Oh, there we go. So this is a big thank you from me, and thank you from GetSetUp for joining us in class today. So if you enjoyed your class, you can share your experience. We'd love it if you shared your experience. If you're on social media, you can share it by using the hashtag GetSetUp or the @GetSetUp. And you can also, if you'd like to, if you have a little story you'd like to relate to people, you can send an email to liz@getsetup.io. She likes to blog about our experiences here. Now, my next class is not for a couple of days now. My next class is a Hips Don't Lie. It's my Monday morning, which for a lot of you will be Sunday evening. It's a hip focus class. And then I have one every day after that. So you can just search for me in your schedule and I should come up somewhere. So it's Natalie W. But if you put Natalie in, you'll get them all up anyway. All right. So, yes. All right. We'd love it if you can recommend this class to a friend. You can share it that again on Facebook, or you can email them a link to that. I'll show you that in a moment, what comes up when you're registering. We also will send you a quick note about the class after we have logged off. You'll be prompted to add some feedback or to give your feedback. It automatically comes up with 4 stars. So you'd love it if you added an extra star to that, make it a 5-star review. Or if you're not okay with it, feel free to take a star or 2 off. But if you do that, please put some feedback in with that star. I'm lost for words. I'm really tongue-tied all of a sudden. I don't know why. Anyway. Send us some feedback. That would be wonderful. All right, let me pop the next screen on. Right. So when you book in for class, right, if you invite a friend, you'll be prompted to invite a friend. So you can just click on the link there and you'll get an email class link. You can send that to them, whether you book on your desktop or on your mobile. It is fun to do things with a friend. You can all have your cameras on. You can wave at each other. You can see what each other is doing, maybe get some other ideas of how to do a movement. So it's great. So when you book a class, feel free to invite a friend along to do that with you. And then finally, our GetSetUp community is growing every day. Right? If you have any ideas for classes that you have an interest in that you feel will be really good on the timetable, please send us an email and suggest them. You could also post an interest group if you had a yearning to be on this side of the camera. And finally, once again, if you enjoyed it and you want to do the class again, you can request a recording of the session. So the main email here, I'm not sure if I'm blocking that without pictures, is to email help@getsetup.io. All right. So if you need any assistance, please stay on. You can send something in the chat box if you prefer to. But any other questions before we finish for the day or for the class? No? All good? So once again, thank you so much. Oh, hang on, Jody put the course in class is really good too. Thank you for that, Jody. All right. So I'd love to see you all again. Very similar moves, but you know, it's nice to keep doing them and keep moving and finding different ways to do so. All right. So thank you again. Have a most wonderful day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Bye. Thanks, Jean. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia, Linda, Alma, Vicky, and Katie, and Kathy. All right. Okay. And everybody on live stream. Thank you.